An opportunity, Humans+ai. Before we talk about this opportunity, we have to talk to you about one warning. This business is going to take some work and some time, and it could be a roller coaster ride for you, or you could knock it out of the park fast. You have to be okay with an entrepreneurial lifestyle. The opportunity is here if you're willing to work for it. There's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5 lifestyle, but I have to warn you that this is not it. This is not going to have orderly, sequential wins. You are the one that will definitely call the shots, and you have to be okay with that. Nobody's going to tell you what to do or where to go. There's definitely support to guide you if you ask, but we are not your boss. We can simply be a mentor. Now, what I'd like for you to do is just pause this video, go to YouTube, and search for Steve Jobs, The Crazy Ones. It's about a minute long, and if you find that inspirational, then this opportunity is totally for you. This social business model is so effective, it can turn the moderately curious into successful entrepreneurs. So, if you are one of the crazy ones, the kind that thinks differently, one of the crazy people who change the world because they are crazy enough to believe they can, then we invite you to continue on with this journey with us. Don't waste your life living someone else's. There's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence or AI and how it will widen the economic gap. There are obvious savings and therefore owner profit gains when they replace humans with robots. Do you think corporations will let us work less and pay us the same? Or do you think they will lay off, hire less in order to increase their profits? You see the caption here. This robot is helping a national chain by reducing employee costs by almost 10%. Here's another article. AI and robotics are coming. This restaurant is powered by robot chefs. When the top 1%ers get AI, do you think that they'll share it with you? Give up any portion of their control of wealth? Or give all of that wealth back to society? They haven't so far. To set the stage, this graph shows the distribution of wealth amongst the world population. 50% of the population, this includes you, shares less than 1% of wealth. The top 5% of the population share more than 65% of wealth. Now let me repeat that just to sink in a little bit more and appreciate that. 50% of the entire world own less than 1% of the total global wealth. And the top 5% of the population share more than 65%. You've seen other people make significant income. In fact, our economic leaders keep an insane amount of money in proportion to the everyday worker. So let's talk about Jeff Bezos. You know that Amazon guy? He makes so much money that if you were to lay his net worth of $200 billion end to end, it would be long enough to encircle the planet Earth 180 times. Then, if that weren't enough, go to the moon and back 30 times. And as if that weren't enough, he could stack the remaining amount 10 kilometers high. That is crazy, right? So what's he been doing with all of that wealth? Is he sharing opportunities with you to make more income? If I was the owner of Amazon, I'd probably pay workers the same amount as I get paid, or more, to keep the employees working their best, happier. Once people found out, man, they'd be knocking down the door to try to work there. In fact, people are already knocking down the door, and Amazon doesn't even pay that much. The bottom line, people would be motivated. They're attracted to fairness, and customers will be more likely to shop there knowing that employees and their families are treated right. Knowing you're making the same or more than the owner, if you work more than the owner, would be totally motivating, and you would totally work harder. You'd be happier, and you would treat the business as if it were your own. So before I get into this slide, let me tell you a story about the last company that I worked at. It actually sold. It was a software company. It sold for roughly about $200 million. Our president actually walked away with just about $100 million. And I had one of my colleagues say that she talked to him for the first time, and he was really a dud. There wasn't anything special about him. Nothing different between you and I. So it was just a normal guy who happened to be our president, one of the first um, employees of the company. So at the time when they sold, there were less than 50 employees. So if you think about it, if you take that $200 million and you split that up, it would have been approximately $4 million per employee. And that would be more than enough for all the employees to live the rest of their lives out comfortably. But what we found is, most people just don't retire and then that's it. With their basic needs met, they would finally get a chance to live their life's purpose, free from any financial distractions, which are the reasons, by the way, that keep most of us, about 80% of us, working at a job that they don't like. When people are asked, why do you stay at the job that you hate? Well, I've got a mortgage or I've got rent payments, and a big one is, medical insurance. So most people have to work even if they don't like their job. And circling back to the slide, so most companies are like 300 or less employees. So that's like making the salary of every worker and adding them together. That would be approximately what the CEO's annual salary is. That's crazy, right? If you split that up between all the employees, that would mean each employee would make at least double. So if you're making $40,000 a year, you would now be making $80,000 a year instead. If you were making $80,000 a year, that'd be $160,000 a year. And heck, if you were making $160,000 a year, you would be now making $320,000 per year if we all made the same as the CEO. So the figure in this slide shows the average CEO makes about 380 times the average worker's pay. And actually, for my company, that's really low. He made more, about 750 to 800 times all of us employees. So what's my point here? My point is, if any of those one percenters offered you a way to increase your income, you should definitely take them up on it. However, I'm guessing they probably haven't reached out to you yet. And so what this means is you have to be the one to do something about it. Not only do you have to do something about it, but you have to do something different. You need to do something different than what you're already doing. Because if you simply did more of what you're already doing, you'll essentially get more of what you've already got. So if you have a big pile of bills and you do more of what you're doing, you're going to have an even larger pile of bills. And that's why when people win the lottery and they don't really do anything different, that's why most of them end up broke. Life's purpose. People need money to make ends meet. That's what keeps many people trapped working a job that they hate, or they wouldn't be working there if they weren't being paid. Ask yourself that. If I wasn't being paid, would I show up to work tomorrow? And if the answer is no, you don't like your job, obviously. But can you imagine, what would you do with your life if you didn't need money? Sure, travel the world like most retired people do, and then they get bored after about 6 months. And a lot of them end up getting a job just to do something so they're not bored. But, you have to think, maybe it's because they've run out of money, or they're trying to find a purpose. So here's a question for you. If you were financially free to do anything, think of it, anything. You could do any job, you could help any cause, you could work to invent something, you could build something, you could even help some sort of movement. It could be anything. Because you didn't need the money, you could set your sights on anything. What would it be? Think of it. Write it down. Think to yourself, what is it? It could be anything. What would that be? And so that thing that drives you, that motivates you, that really excites you and gets you alive inside, you see, this is your life's purpose. You could finally get to apply yourself towards your life's purpose without any influence from those outside pressures, like how am I going to keep a roof over my head? How am I going to pay those bills for the utilities, the groceries, the car payment, the gas, the insurance, the medical expenses, the camp for the kids? All of that noise, if all of those stresses were gone, you could be set free to focus on your life's work, your life's purpose. And so here's our mission: empower society to free their mind to perform their life's intended contribution, and not what is imposed on their life from external forces. It's a model that can be used on any business. As this model sets you financially free, you can then focus on what you are passionate about. We're actually going to start it with a restaurant model, but this social business model is meant to work for any business, any type. We're just going to start with one that we're familiar with, and that's the restaurant industry. This model is self-funded, and it works better than a guaranteed minimum income. You may have heard of that, also called universal basic income. This isn't a free giveaway. You're actually going to work for your money, but you'll be rewarded for it too. You may enter the system by either marketing or as an employee under one of our owners, or both. So how to be involved? You can become an independent affiliate marketer, otherwise known as an IAM. There's no cost to be an IM. You simply exchange the cell phone numbers with the person who referred you. So you give each other your cell phone number, go on our website, and then just register there. You need a two-way confirmation, both from the IM and the referring IM. So here's the general breakdown of the business. 30-30-30-10. The first 30% covers all food costs. The second 30% covers the operations. That's the people running the restaurant, the rent, the mortgage, utilities, the gas, etc. There's also another 30% for the marketing. This is us. And the last remaining 10% is our 10% expansion fund. So focusing on that 30% for marketing, almost all successful businesses have a marketing budget. They spend it on ad campaigns on TVs, radio, social media, Google Ads, etc., etc. The company I'm sharing with you today has dedicated their entire marketing budget to support people like you and me, and not the huge marketing giants like Facebook, Google, Amazon, etc. What does that mean? Well, do you remember the first concert you went to? Did you tell anybody about it, good or bad? What about the last movie you saw? Did you hear somebody talk about it, or did you tell someone about it? When you want to go to the movies, what people typically do is they ask around their circle of friends or their circle of influence to see which movies they saw and like best, or what's coming out that sounds interesting. So we talked about concerts and movies. Now, what other kinds of businesses do you talk about before visiting? If you're thinking restaurants, you're right. And that's what we do. We pay people to talk about our restaurants. Word of mouth is the most effective form of marketing. People buy based on their friends or family's opinions or recommendations. But most importantly, we act on recommendations every day, from restaurants to recipes to movies, hairstylists to concerts to car mechanics or realtors, and even vacations. We ask, wouldn't it be great for a business to share their success with us by paying us when we send people to their business? The business you're now in does this. If you like your products and services enough to use it and feel it brings value, then most likely you will feel compelled, even responsible or obligated, to share that with those that you care about. Remember the early days of Uber? When I refer you and you use my code to sign up, we would both get $25 each. So that's a total for a new user acquisition. The new user acquisition cost would be about $50 for you. So in other words, $50 is what they're willing to pay for a new user on their system. This is a similar thing. They're willing to pay us for marketing for them. Only it's better. They continue to pay us. They don't only pay us the first time you use them, but every time you use them, they bonus. It's a similar thing. They're paying us to market for them. So here's the example. Purchasing $100 over a month brings you to the 3% level. And since there's no one else in your group to pay out, you keep that 3%, or 3% times $100 is essentially $3. So you can look at it as your discount, a 3% discount. Not much, but hey, it's something. Now let's say that you tell two others who also tell others. One group ends up spending $300 a month, which places them at the 6% level. And the second group, they spend $600 in the month, placing them at the 9% level. If you add up the totals of all of those that you told plus yours, you arrive at $100 plus $300 plus $600 puts you at $1,000 total and places you at the 12% level. So now let's crunch the numbers. For you, your discount is 12%. So 12% times $100 is $12. For group 1, you get to keep 12% minus their 6% equals 6%. Times that by their group total, or $300. So 6% times $300 is $18. By the way, group 1 gets to keep the 6% times $300, which again is $18. So they keep $18 and you get $18. For group 2, you get to keep 12% minus 9% is 3%. 3% times that group 2 total of $600 equals $18. So group 2 gets to keep 9% times their $600, which is $54. See, it's fair. Group 2 did more work than you, so they get to keep more money. So let's talk operations. 30% goes towards operations. That's the non-food costs. For example, the rent, insurance, utilities. Then, after all the operations costs are paid, all the restaurant employees are paid pro rata, with the remainder of those 30% funds. They actually end up earning more than they would if they received your typical minimum wage plus tips. And this is because there isn't an owner keeping a majority of the money. If a staffer works more than the other staffers, they get paid more. Not like when a manager or owner comes in late, leaves early, but then keeps most of the money earned. And the cool thing about it is all of these staffers, they also have the option to receive the training to eventually receive the 10% fund recipient level. I'll get to that in a minute. So if you work more than me, you'll keep more money than me. Employees are more motivated to work harder with a sense of ownership mentality, and if the owner keeps more of the money, the employees don't care and stop paying attention. So this brings up a couple of points. All the employees are motivated to work harder, and they also have a sense of ownership mentality. You see, if the owner kept more money, then the employees don't really care or they stop paying attention to those little details. Our employees and owners make the same amount of money and all work harder, smarter because it's fair. This is a huge differentiator. People are willing to come back to our business because they know that we treat our employees fairly and we give them the opportunity, if they want it, to become their own business owner. You heard me talk about the 10% fund or the 10% expansion fund. Roughly 10% of every dollar made goes into this 10% fund. It removes the barrier of entry for our staffers. This is a genius way to expand our dining options for our community and reward our staffers. Many awesome hospitality workers would love to own their own place, but they simply can't because of the huge barrier of entry. No matter how good of a waiter you are, making minimum wage plus tips won't get you even close to saving the $50,000 or $750,000 that it takes to build out a restaurant. So owning their own place will likely never be an option. However, with our business, it is. You see, when that 10% fund builds up large enough to create another business, those staffers that qualify are set up in their own business without any startup cost of their own. When that 10% fund builds up large enough to create another restaurant, those staffers that qualify are set up in their own restaurant or business. Sure, they'll pay back the loan plus the flat fee. It's not a compounded interest or ripoff. It's actually a flat 10% fee. That doesn't change. And they run off the same system, the 30, 30, 30, 10%. This makes everything duplicatable, provides us, the IMs, with a new option to eat at, and instantly gives this new restaurant owner a following of eager customers right as they open their doors. After all, assuming that you're like me, if a restaurant's going to give you a loyalty discount and share their revenue with you to tell others to eat there, you're going to dine there. Our 10% expansion fund is a genius way to add different food options and other types of businesses that our IM's mesh network can enjoy now and in the future. So, if they don't already have the type of foods that you enjoy, it's likely they will soon with our 10% expansion fund. So, what does it mean for a staffer to qualify for the 10% expansion fund? Well, when the 10% fund has enough money to open up another business, the operators that qualify will each be able to present their business idea to the IM Mesh Network. IMs vote for the next business to launch. The winning operator doesn't have to come up with their own funding. They're actually loaned the money using that 10% fund. This is a new business that runs on the same operating model, 30-30-30-10. The 10% flat fee plus the original loan amount is paid back first using the new business's 10% fund. So before saving for their next expansion, that original loan amount must be paid back. Upon opening this new business, they have an immediate demand of IMs ready to use their service. This business is amazing. So not only do they pay people like you and I to market for them, but they also reward their staffers by giving them a business of their dreams and removing the barrier of entry for it. And it's proof that they value benefiting society over profiteering. So, how to get involved? It's super easy. Become an IM. There's no cost to be an IM. You simply exchange cell phone numbers with the person who referred you and confirm it on our website or at the register. It's a two-way confirmation from both you and the referring IM. And so in closing, we are not a for-profit business. We are a for-society business. Because of this, the only competition is time. We'd love to find out where you're at. With 10 meaning, hey, I'm in, I'm ready to do this and get started, down to 1, this isn't for me, and maybe a 5 is, I've got some questions, I'm not really sure at this time. Where do you see yourself? Please reach back out to the person who shared this with you and let them know where you stand. Give them your 1 to 10 number. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and we can't wait to hear about your life's purpose.